Hello and welcome back to Wine Reform. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries. That's right. If you guys got that reference, then today we explore the Englishman's grape. Elderberry is part of the elder genus Sambucus, and Sambucus grows all over the world, although the two biggest differentiating elder tree plants seem to be the European elder, or S. nigra, which grows in Britain, Scandinavia, North Africa, and parts of Asia. And then the American elder, or S. canadensis, which grows in the US and eastern Canada. There are a lot of other species, but those are the two most commonly known elder. The elder is a tree, actually, and it flowers in the spring and giving us those beautiful elder flowers, and then those flowers give way to berries in the summertime, and those berries are tart and tannic and actually make really good wine, so I'm told. The elder trees, they cannot self-fertilize, so they often have to be planted with another tree. You do have to plant them a little bit far apart though, because once they get going, they get growing. The downside to these plants is that their roots are extremely shallow, so they are very susceptible to weeds. They have to be weeded and watered very frequently, as, you know, they're not all that strong on their own. Elderberries are shockingly complex. There are up to 34 identifiable aroma compounds in an elderberry. They're also very vitamin C rich, and they're full of anthocyanins, or antioxidants. Beyond that, they contain vitamins B1, B2, B6, ursolic and oleanolic acids, which are anti-inflammatory, and for these reasons, elderberry is often touted as a cold remedy, or just a general ailment remedy. However, be wary. The stems, leaf, bark, and roots are extremely toxic. Well unripe, the berries are also a no-no. There are some species of elder that are entirely toxic, one of those being the American red, or S. pubens. The berries are red, the juice is yellow, and it's basically cyanide. Check the description for a bit more of a scientific explanation on why that is. Elderberries have a long history though. Their remains have even been found in Stone Age communities. The botanical name Sambucus actually comes from the Greek word sambuke, that one, and it means musical pipes. This is because the hollow shoots would be often used to make pipes and whistles. Elder actually came from the Anglo-Saxon word ald, or that one, which means fire. And this is because the stems would be used a bit like a bellows to blow air into a fire. The elder is also rich in folklore. Peasants in medieval Denmark wouldn't touch an elder tree, they wouldn't cut it down. They asked permission to get near it out of respect for the elder mother, or Haldimor. And Irish folklore would often associate the elder tree with witches riding the boughs. And some Scots, or at least the ones who were around elders, believed that the elder warded off evil. The Ogham calendar, or the Celtic calendar, even ends the year with the elder. In this sense, the elder means transformation and spiritual renewal. The elder is also seen as the witch's tree in general, and is really good for making wands. I mean, think of the elder wand from Harry Potter. It is also cautioned against sleeping under the elder, as it is said that doing so during midsummer would mean that one might see the fairy king in his procession, and, you know, if you're familiar with folklore about fairies, then that's not always a good thing. Most importantly, elderberry wine, along with other wine, was a very popular cordial for the rich during the Middle Ages and onward. And even before that, but you know, especially Middle Ages. Hence this most popular taunt.
Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries.
Of course, I am referring to the most famous line spoken by the Frenchman in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, that 1975 feature-length spoof of Arthurian legends by the Monty Python comedy troupe. I really hope that this requires no further explanation, as it's been out for a while. I enjoyed the film, honestly, since my middle school days, and in more recent years, kind of like I've been doing with a lot of media, I was delighted to find a connection to wine. Honestly, I found no official meaning for that particular taunt. However, every time I talk about it, it's generally understood that the taunt was saying something not very nice about Arthur's mother and calling Arthur's father a drunk. And given that Arthur was royalty, it makes sense that his father would be drunk off the elderberry wine and not necessarily the ale. There was a hierarchy in drinks. Actually, I found a lot of connections between elderberry wine and pop culture, and I think it's because it's so like richly steeped in parts of history. I only mentioned its history in Europe. I didn't even mention all the awesome uses, medicinal uses that Native Americans were able to get out of the elder tree. But really, it's a plant that's been around for centuries, and we've done so much with it. And I think because it, like the grapevine, is so very much a part of human culture, it's part of our pop culture as well. Now, I'm gonna be totally real with you. This was like the one explicit wine reference, or this was like the one wine reference that I really gripped, like I really grabbed onto from Monty Python. I mean, there are a lot of fantastic lines like this one.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
But this one,
Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries.
was the one that really like caught my attention, because I just really love saying, like, I would say that to people. I mean, I was a nerd. I am a nerd. That's just who I was. There's quite a few other places, literature, and just general history in which elderberry wine has been mentioned. I have found a lot of Regency era recipes for elderberry wine, and there's even a song that was a collab between somebody and Elton John, and it was called Elderberry Wine. So yeah, it's pretty rich with folklore and pop culture and history and all that good stuff. But I'm a nerd, so I explicitly connect it to that one beautiful taunt by the Frenchman from Monty Python. Now, despite the fact that I have found so many references to elderberry wine and so many recipes for it, it is shockingly difficult to find an elderberry wine, or any fruit wine for that matter, because it's not something that people tend to go out of their way to buy, especially in the US. However, I did manage to find a elderberry wine from Honeywood Winery, a winery in Oregon that not only makes grape wine from grapes around the Willamette Valley, but they also make fruit wines from berries and such from that surrounding area. So that was really cool. Really, I didn't want to make my own elderberry wine for fear of, I wanted something that I could trust was what elderberry wine's supposed to taste like, because obviously if I've never tasted it and I've never made it, can I really trust my first batch? Probably not. Today, we are trying Honeywood Winery elderberry wine. There is no information about when this elderberry wine was made. However, I do know from the website that the elderberries were all from that surrounding area. I mean, it has a beautiful description. It's part of their Wild Berry series, which captures the spirit of summer and the wildness of nature, which I'm all for that. That sounds great. And it really describes that it has a lot of berry flavors, and it says the elderberry wine has a unique tartness, which makes it really good for wine. So as I was saying, it is not a grape wine. However, it is a wine, and so I will be evaluating it as I do other wines made from Vitis vinifera. And I suppose now the only thing we have to do is get it open and evaluate it. So let's see what Arthur's father supposedly had such a fondness for, according to that taunting Frenchman. Now that we have given it a pour, the first thing we do when we are evaluating a wine is we look at it. Got my handy dandy white sheet of paper, and we'll take a look. So I'm looking at it now, and this elderberry wine is really delivering on the color. It is a gorgeous ruby hue that is dark in the middle and gets lighter on the outsides, and the clarity is beautiful. It is truly impeccable. Honestly, if I was going to describe the color of this, it looks like pomegranate juice. It's just that pigmented. Alrighty, so now that we have evaluated the appearance of our wine, our elderberry wine, we get to go ahead and evaluate the nose. Just like with a grape wine, a vitis vinifera wine, we are going to see if we can get those 34 aroma compounds that are supposedly found in elderberries. So let's try it. Whoa. Just let that sink in for a minute. That was actually, pow, pop of aroma, strong nose. All right, this is gonna sound completely bizarre. So you know how when you taste a vitis vinifera wine, grapey is not something you would use to describe a wine made from grapes? Well, this wine made from elderberries, the first thing that popped in my head was, wow, grapey. So, alrighty. You don't get grapes in grape wine, but you get grapes in elderberry wine. I got definitely a very pungent, powerful nose of grapes, boysenberries, bubblegum, and a hint of orange. So I was kind of cool to get those aromas out of it. So yeah, I did get quite a bit. I know if you've tried other fruit wines, you really don't get much complexity out of the nose, but the elderberry wine delivered 4 very pungent aromas, and pungent in a good way. It was actually quite pleasant. So I'm very pleased with the nose of this elderberry wine. Now that we have evaluated the nose, we get to go ahead and taste it. That's also known as evaluating the palate. So just like with vitis vinifera wine, we're gonna go ahead and see what we can get out of the elderberry wine. Cheers. Wow. I'm just gonna sit with this for a moment because I am so thoroughly impressed. Fuzz. Honestly, it is, number one, it's sweet. This is not a wine for someone who can't have a lot of sugar. This is not a wine for someone who doesn't like a lot of sweet. This is sweet. And it was extremely fruity. It was grape juice and pomegranate juice and boysenberry and a little bit of citrus. A little bit. It was actually kind of good. I think that if you're not a fan of sweet and fruity flavors, you're not gonna appreciate this in the slightest. But if you are, I think you would like this one. The finish was very long. I could taste the fruitiness on my palate for quite a while, actually. And it was sweet. It was very sweet. But I think the tartness that came through, that acidity, really did make it palatable. It was not syrupy, which was very nice. And the alcohol felt medium. We're at 11% alcohol by volume, and it felt medium. I'm really thoroughly impressed. I did not think I would appreciate this elderberry wine because I thought I was purely loyal to vitis vinifera wines, but perhaps it just means that you need a fruit that has the same level or a similar level of sugar and acid and tannin in order to make something that tastes balanced. As even though this is sweet, it does taste pretty balanced. Yeah, I totally see what Arthur's father might have been up about. I can understand why those, medieval lords, ladies, kings, knights would have totally gotten down to some elderberry wine. This is awesome. And I totally get why Elton John's saying about it, because this is delicious. And if I had someone to make me elderberry wine, you best believe I would keep them. Honestly, this wine just makes me want to this wine just makes me want to go to a feast and shoot arrows. That would be a blast. yeah, this wine makes me want to go on a quest to find the Holy Grail. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Wine Reform. This has been the second installment of Wines of Pop Culture, in which we have very loosely connected an elderberry wine to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, or more specifically, that very famous taunt, your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries. As always, it has been a pleasure. I think that the world of wine is so wide, so varied, and so very human. There's so many options, and limit yourself to simply wine made from Vitis vinifera, I think you're sorely missing out. Plus, I feel like having tried a wine made from not a wine grape has made me appreciate some parts of the wine grape, and I think I've learned to appreciate maybe a fruit that's not a wine grape that could make a really good wine. I can't wait to try more fruit wines and see if maybe there's more out there. If you like what you saw, be sure to give me a thumbs up. It lets me know I'm doing something right, and it lets YouTube know that other people should totally look at this. So if there's someone out there who wants to get into wine and they don't know how, or maybe they didn't even know wine could be so connected to things that they like too, well, you are giving them an in. If you like this video, you're letting YouTube know, hey, more people should see this, and those people will see it, and they'll thank you for it. So you're doing them a favor. If you really liked what you saw and you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe. I release videos every Friday. Now, if you want to be notified of when I release those videos, hit the bell icon and you will get an alert so that you can know as soon as I release it. And that's really helpful in the off chance that I miss a day or I have technical difficulties like I did a couple weeks ago. It has been a pleasure. Have you ever made a fruit wine before? I'm actually genuinely curious. I know there are a lot of really awesome home brewers and home winemakers out there, and I want to hear from you. Have you made an elderberry wine, and are you willing to link your recipe? We'll credit you, of course. Anyway, it has been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye-bye.